Now, on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app, O'Connor and Company.
Well, good morning, one and all. There's nothing better. I got to tell you something. I've been now at the tail end of this. I've been doing 2 full weeks of shows, Patrice.
Yes.
And you come in on a day, and it's a holiday, and it's a tough holiday in many ways. And to know that I'm going to be doing a show with you today just made me feel so good. I'm Andrew Langer, in for Larry O'Connor today. This is my final day. Larry will be back on Monday, sitting alongside Patrice Onwuka. Hello, Patrice.
Good morning. Happy Black Friday, Andrew.
Happy Black Friday to you as well. We're going to be talking Black Friday in a little. By the way, it's 5:07 on News Talk 105.9 WMAL. We are making sense of the news. Yes, I'm Andrew Langer. She's Patrice Onwuka. We've got a great show today on this Black Friday. Tony Schaefer is going to be joining us in the 7 a.m. hour, best-selling author of Operation Dark Heart, to discuss the shooting. We're going to talk about this with Patrice in a second. We've got Steve Moore, my good buddy Steve Moore. I fanboy over Steve Moore, co-founder of Unleash Prosperity, former senior economic policy advisor to Donald Trump. KT McFarland, CPAC board member, going to be joining us as well. Author of Revolution, former Deputy National Security Advisor to President Trump. And Chuck Thies, a D.C. political analyst, is going to talk about this. And let's start here, actually. I want to start in a strange place, Patrice, because, when we did our show on Wednesday, we had talked about Muriel Bowser stepping away from running. And then all of a sudden, not running for a fourth term, that's what it is. And all of a sudden, we get the news, and Wednesday afternoon, there she is in Farragut Square, giving us. But let me start here. Actually, something. Let me not start with Muriel Bowser. I'm going to jump around. I apologize, folks, at 5:08 in the morning. How was your Thanksgiving? Most important.
My Thanksgiving was so lovely.
Good.
We were up in Boston, so we toured Boston. I haven't been there in quite some time, so going back to my old roots where we grew up, seeing the transformation of the city, areas that were just parking lots, like miles of parking lots, are full of buildings. And
amazing.
It's amazing, and I understand why people love the city now. It's so young and vibrant. And then I got to meet my niece for the first time. So she's the first granddaughter from my parents. So she was so beautiful. I shared a picture with our team here, and our good friend Larry thinks he's lactating now.
Yes.
He got so overwhelmed. But it was beautiful. We had a great time.
And
how about you? How was your Thanksgiving?
We'll get to that in a second. I'm peeling back on you for a minute. You know me. I love talking about me. But how was the weather in Boston?
Actually, it's about the same as D.C. It was pretty relatively mild. Yesterday, maybe 40, so a little bit chillier, but much warmer than Boston usually is this time of year.
Yeah,
no snow. Thank God, no snow.
That was going to be my question about the snow, because you never know with these things what's going to happen.
Oh yeah.
And the food, the dinner was good.
Yes, we went out to dinner. It was delicious.
That's right. You went out. That's right.
We go out. We go out every year. So it was great. Lots of turkey. The place was packed. Lots of people out. Mostly tourists or some big families too. So it was nice. And then came back and just relaxed with no dishes to wash. That's the key, Andrew. No dishes to wash.
There was a great moment yesterday where my younger one, it was in college, curled up on the couch and fell asleep after dinner. It was I got great pictures. It was a lovely evening, lovely day. So it was different family at different points in time, and that's good. Here's the most important thing. Literally the single most important thing about yesterday. My gravy turned out at dinner because I was in charge of the gravy, and that worked out well. No adulterating it with cream of chicken soup.
Thank you. God bless you.
Yeah, so that's
an awful shortcut.
Oh my goodness, yes. Guys, it's so easy. It's so easy to just do it homemade. So that was good. But more importantly, I tried making a low sugar apple pie yesterday. Now, the crust, it couldn't be helped. The crust obviously had some sugar in it. And it was local, but it's essentially a lower carb. I used this sugar substitute called Swerve. I did.
Is it like stevia?
Patrice is looking at me like, are you
I'm like,
crazy?
Yeah,
I'm just trying to cut out the sugar where I can. So, like the homemade cranberry sauce, use this Swerve stuff. It's a monk fruit derived. It's like stevia.
Okay.
It's monk fruit derived. And the pie turned out really well, except the pie like rose. I made this mistake. I put some. How do I distinguish it besides the fact that it was a smaller pie than the traditional apple pie that my wife made, which was beautiful and tasty? But I said, okay, I'm going to make with the leftover pie crust. I made a zero symbol, with the zero with the diagonal line through it, and I covered up the venting on the pie. So somehow it like the bubbling rose up and then collapsed. It was fine. It was, but the pie was so good, and I could not tell that it was a sugar substitute.
Well, now wait a minute. You say that.
Yes.
What was the consensus of the other guests?
Oh, nobody else ate it, Patrice. Let me be really clear about this. I was the only one who ate the low sugar pie. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, you are the meme that I was scrolling on Instagram. It's like that family member that always tries something new on Thanksgiving and doesn't tell you
no.
until
would never...
like, let me try this sugar-free, low carb, low cal dessert, everybody, and then you taste it and it's okay. Andrew,
I learned my lesson. I learned my lesson many years ago when my wife and I were first married. I went and took a series of cooking classes with a wonderful woman named Shirley Currier, who wrote a book called Cookwise. She used to be on Jimmy Kimmel used to bring her on to deep fry things. I don't think she's been on a long time. And I got my first zester, one of those wood rasp zester things. Yeah. And I was zesting everything. And I decided to we were making spaghetti, and for whatever reason, I got it in my head. Yes, Patrice again looking at me like I'm crazy. Yes, I zested lime zest into the spaghetti sauce. It was a massive failure. Again, this is now 20.
I thought you were going to say you zested garlic. Did
no,
you think the garlic
really
was lime?
No. I just was like, oh, let me try it. Let me see what the lime is like in here.
Oh my gosh.
I got a little too excited. I don't do that anymore. No, now believe me, you never mess around. The only time we did it was really was trying to experiment. There's a famous story in my family because I decided I wanted to make White Castle stuffing. Are you familiar with White Castle stuffing?
I know not the restaurant White Castle.
White Castle hamburgers, little hamburgers, right?
Yes,
I mean, essentially,
I've heard
a White
them.
Castle hamburger is like a stuffing component because you've got the meat, like in sausage stuffing. So you've got like a ground meat, you've got your bread, soft bread, and you've got onions in it. And if you get them without pickles and ketchup, you basically use them as the basis of a stuffing. You add your this. I'm putting on my fat guy voice. You crumble it up and you make it as a dressing. And so I told my family I was going to make this at home in when my parents were still living in New York, and my middle brother, he's just gets my mom spun up. My mom was already dubious about the stuffing, and my brother's like, Mom, he's gonna make that stuffing. Mom, he's bringing those White Castle hamburgers. Mom, he just texted me to just stop the White Castle, and my mom is like so thoroughly spun up that by the time I show up at home, she's like, "You're not making that stuffing." And we didn't make it. I made it for Christmas, like a month later, and it was the only side dish that everybody ate. It was like the only one that was good. Everybody was good.
So there you go.
Yeah, it was good stuff. Listen, we had to do something nice because we're gonna talk about the shooting in a moment in the aftermath. I'll get Patrice's reaction. There you go. Listen, normally we would do traffic, but I'm just gonna do the weather. So here we go. So we got off the air on Wednesday, and we're all sort of doing our prep. I know you were out with family, but your immediate reaction, Patrice, when you heard the news on Wednesday.
I was shocked and devastated because, listen, we've had a National Guard presence in Washington, D.C. now for months, and we've seen nothing. We've never seen an assault. The very people who profit off of violence in Washington, D.C., they never tried anything. There was a respect for our troops, the order they're trying to bring, and frankly, the help that they were giving to the Boston police. I'm in Boston here, guys. To the D.C. police, so that the police can, have some, reinforcements. And then you had this. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, so I'm hearing a shooting. There was conflicts around whether they were shot dead. Then we find out that they were alive, but they were in critical condition. Right. And it was devastating to hear that.
And you pray for the families that they're going to come out of this. We now know we're going to talk about Sarah Beckham in a second. We know Andrew Wolf is fighting for his life here.
Yes.
But last night the president had a press conference about this, he was talking about this. Let's go ahead and play cut number 1.
I must unfortunately tell you that just seconds before I went on, right now I heard that Sarah Beckham of West Virginia, one of the guardsmen that we're talking about, highly respected, young, magnificent person, started service in June of 2023, outstanding in every way. She's just passed away. She's no longer with us. She's looking down at us right now. Her parents are with her. It's just happened. She was savagely attacked. She's dead. She's not with us. Incredible person. Outstanding in every single way, in every department. That's horrible.
Yeah, and I'm glad he clarified that, because there was some confusion as to when she had joined, and I guess they had just arrived in D.C., but so she had been serving for 2 years, I guess basically since she was 18, which it's just stunning. And then it goes on. This is again last night. The White House announces they're starting to announce that they're putting a pause on things, and the president was talking about Somalia. Let's go ahead, Jeff, and play cut number 2.
What do the Somalians have to do with this Afghan guy who shot the national?
Nothing, but Somalians have caused a lot of trouble. They're ripping us off for a lot of money. There's a tremendous amount of money going back to Somalia. What the hell are we paying money to Somalia for? But they're ripping off our country at a level that few people have been able to see before. That's about the only thing. You talk about competence. We have Ilhan.
We can stop it there, Jeff. I mean, it really is a dumb question, because we have this big story earlier, maybe I guess it was late last week, early into this week, that we've discovered that Minnesota and the Minnesota taxpayers are the single largest funder of Al-Shabaab, the Al-Qaeda offshoot. So obviously, lots of peeling back. Your thoughts here, Patrice?
Yeah. So what you have here are two immigration-related stories. You've got this Afghan person who's resettled in the United States. Apparently, he helped the military during the war on terror in some way, and during the evacuation, when Biden pulled out disastrously the United States, he was able to come to this country, was resettled, given a place, given a home, and trusted. The United States, we trusted that him and his family and all those other settlers, would be incorporated into this country and would love this country and be appreciative of this country. Instead, you have this guy who decides to target, to ambush two National Guards members. So that's one immigration piece, which is the vetting or the lack of vetting, the questionable vetting that has happened both with the Afghani folks, but also through the southern border. All of the millions of people who came in through this country, whether or not they were vetted accurately and who they are, what they are here for, and what their intentions are. And then you have the other story, which is you got what's going on in Minnesota. You've got the Somali community, and we see it in a lot of these communities. Immigrant populations are really different. Some are willing to assimilate. Some 100%. Are willing to be part of the American fabric, and some want to transport their culture, their mindsets. Some in some cases, they're their rhetoric and their violent, their ideologies that are in conflict with what we believe in as Americans. They're importing that and running for office, building up strong political will, and at the same time taking advantage. Not all, but some are taking advantage of our public assistance programs, and so that's what you got. A lot of things going on here, 100%. Folks are going to try and kind of break it apart, but there's a big immigration story, and I think that's what we're coming out of this with.
Well, there's a big immigration story, and there's also the issue of the laws of large numbers, right? When you're talking about chaos and policy driven by chaos, and certainly that's what we had as the Biden administration was trying to extricate itself from Afghanistan and not doing it in a thoughtful and deliberative process.
Yeah.
When you have large numbers of people coming in and you create rules that on paper make sense, right? If someone gave service to the United States, we're going to add weight to their applications. But then when the applications go away, right, you're never going to be able to control for everything. And so at some point, something is going to get missed here. But you come back to the conversation we had earlier this week with the gentleman from the CIA. Was that Wednesday that we did this? And he talks about we make the mistake of transposing onto, whether it's foreign leaders or foreign actors generally, our own values, our own rationality in terms of the way of doing things. Right? It's the great conceit of libertarians who, when we libertarians thought that if we just traded jeans and sent Pepsi to Russia, they would become like us. The same thing with China. We work to open up China's economy. China's going to come like this. It doesn't work that way. Listen, we got so much more to get to. Right now, it's 5:24 on WMAL.
News Talk 105.9 WMAL, making sense of the news.
Yeah, Patrice and I are going to continue to break down the stuff that Donald Trump said yesterday, lots of the other comments out there. We're going to also go back and look at who was warning us that this might happen. We got Tony Schaefer joining us in the 7 a.m. hour, Steve Moore as well, KT McFarland and others. It's 5:30 on WMAL. Well, guys, it is 5:37 on News Talk 105.9 WMAL. We are making sense of the news. By the way, we've got a person down in the Hadid Carpet Cleaning Traffic Center. So we are working on getting somebody in there to get you your traffic news. Everything looks good out there, but I'm just a layman. Like the rest of you, I just look at Google Maps. I was telling Patrice this, I literally keep the Google Map open while the show's on because, when Jamie or whomever is in the traffic center, I'm looking at those things to follow along because that's what I do. It is 5:37 on News Talk 105.9 WMAL. We are making sense of the news. I'm Andrew Langer in for Larry O'Connor today. The last of my 11 shows, Patrice.
Wow.
Yeah, and I'm so glad I'm capping off by hanging out with you here. Of course, that is Patrice Onwuka. Happy Friday to you, Patrice.
Happy Black Friday,
Amen.
Andrew.
As we listen to Rock Steady here, because with Heather not being here, I'm going to comment on the music today. I always feel bad. She's listening. She's cringing because I'm commenting on the music. We went down the rabbit hole in the last segment because we heard Ready for the World's Oh Sheila, and Patrice and I then went down the rabbit hole talking about whether or not it was Prince. Great show today. We got Tony Schaefer joining us in a little bit, retired colonel. He is the author of Operation Dark Heart to discuss this Afghan national story. Steve Moore is going to join us from Unleash Prosperity. Very excited to have him join us to talk about Black Friday. KT McFarland, former Deputy National Security Advisor and CPAC board member, and Chuck Thies is going to join us as well. Michael, to break down to continue to break down the story, obviously the tragic death of the one National Guardsman, the second one in critical condition still. The president was asked last night who he blames because he's talking about shutting down immigration, but he's also talking about revetting the Afghan refugees who were let in. And the president was asked about this. Let's go ahead, Michael, play cut number 3.
You've made changes for Afghanis' ability to apply for asylum. Do you blame all Afghans for this one man's not
No,
mistaken.
but we've had a lot of problems with Afghans because they had a lot of them coming in on these planes. Again, I show you this picture. We had a lot of them coming in on these planes that are, look at them. There was no check-in. They just poured into the plane. And many of these people are criminals. Many of these people are people that shouldn't be here. And many of them have been gotten out. I mean, we've gotten out a lot of the people that, we've taken a lot of them out of here. But they came in, legally, right? Yeah, I know, the old story. Many are wonderful, yeah, I'm sure.
I said many are here legally, though. What should they think in terms of their prospects?
Well, they can't be happy, okay? They can't be happy. Because what's taking place between that, if you look at Somalia, they're taking over Minnesota, and we got a lot of problems with the gangs.
All right, Michael, we get into there. I mean, the bottom line here is, right, this guy was here legally. Right, he'd applied for asylum. I don't know why it took him 3 years to apply for asylum, but he was here legally, and he was granted asylum. But again, if the vetting isn't done, let me be really clear about this. If you are making policy in a crisis, and you just inundated and deluged, something is going to get missed. And I don't blame the bureaucracy. I'm going to say this. I don't blame the bureaucracy. I want to make that abundantly clear. They were, the bureaucracy was being presented with a fundamentally untenable situation. I'm sorry, Patrice. I know you want to weigh in here.
Yeah, I think it's a really interesting situation we've got here where, I'm reading through some FOIA requested information from America First Legal, where, based on what they've uncovered, officials admitted at the time that they didn't know the identities of some of the individuals who had been resettled from Afghanistan, and whether or not these individuals may or may not have been cleared. I think we're going to get more insight into, based on documents at the time, what was known about these individuals, what the vetting process looked like, and at the end of the day, it may be that individuals were vetted, were cleared, maybe they given special weight because they had supported the American government in the U.S. military, but you still have somebody who's deranged and in their heart harbors real animosity against the United States and use the opportunity to come into this country under the guise of needing support and help and to be resettled, and in fact they have nefarious motives and they're just waiting for the opportunity, and that could just be something that happens.
100%.
That said, I think there's nothing wrong, and we should absolutely be vetting every single person, every single Afghani that came in during that time period. I think it's very fine to want to vet every single person that came through the southern border. And you know what? I say this, folks. You guys know I'm a naturalized citizen. I came to this country legally from the Caribbean, and I talked with my parents about the process that they had to go through. It was a long, onerous, and costly process to ensure that the U.S. government knew who my family was, knew that we were not going to be a health risk to this country. We had to get shots, we had to get immunizations, and knew that we could support ourselves and not be a ward of the government of the United States by going on social services. And so that kind of vetting that everyone else has to go through, it's understandable that you would expect that of others. I get it, in a tough situation, in an evacuation situation, you may not be able to be that thorough, but then there's nothing wrong with going back after the fact as well.
Listen, this gets into the idea of when we're talking about people coming up from our southern border, about making them wait in Mexico in some kind of a processing facility where their backgrounds can be checked. There's nothing wrong with that. And by the way, if you are trying to come to America and you have good intentions,
yes,
you're going to be.
Not mind.
You should not mind that. Listen, in a moment, I'm going to play this cut from Sean Parnell in 2021 talking about the issues and the dangers. We're going to do a little bit of flashback here in a moment. Right now, it is 5:44.
It's Chris Plant. Find out what the media don't want you to know. Coming up this morning at 9, right here on WMAL.
All right. True story, Patrice. I played this song in a Jeep, a Toyota Land Rover, Toyota Land Cruiser, in the Sahara Desert, illegally crossing the Mauritanian border. This is what I had on my on the car stereo.
Did you have a gun and shoot a lion? I mean,
no. This was I was visiting refugee camps in Algeria, and we were going off to the Western Sahara border, and this is what I was playing a little bit of the time. So love the time. Oh. Listen, we got important stuff to talk about here. I know you've got some breaking news, but I did want to play this. Here is Sean Parnell on the news. He was on with Tucker Carlson. Set that aside for a moment. On with certain people whose names we're no longer discussing anymore. Back in 2021, back before he jumped off the deep end, talking about unvetted Afghan refugees into America. Let's go ahead and play cut number 10.
We worked with an Afghan interpreter for over a year. He was on every mission with us. He was on every fight with us. And one day we got tasked with an observation post to watch info routes from Pakistan into Afghanistan. My platoon that day rolled up onto the hill. We wondered why the Afghan villagers all around that hilltop were watching the platoon. Rolled up onto the hill. One of my trucks hit a plastic Italian TC-6 anti-tank mine. It wounded 4 of my soldiers seriously and killed somebody in my platoon. After that mission was over, during our after-action report, we found out that our interpreter, who had been with us every step of the way, someone who we thought was our friend, we learned that he was working with an Iranian IED cell in Pakistan and coordinated the placement of that mine, which killed one of my troops in a devastating attack. Tucker, just because an Afghan works with us and is friends with us does not actually mean they're safe to bring here. And this is precisely why we cannot bring 30,000 unvetted Afghan refugees to the United States of America. It's an irresponsible policy, and quite frankly, I can't believe we even have to have this conversation. American citizens have to have the priority. They have to be the priority.
And Patrice, you said you got some breaking stuff. You want to do it now? You want to do it in the 6 a.m. hour? What do you want to do?
Well, I can just tease it up here, but I think America First Legal, feel free to check out their X page, America First Legal. They're looking at, uncovering, whether the Biden administration really had an apparatus created to be able to accurately vet all of these Afghan refugees at the time, and whether the individuals were actually known or not. It looks like there are a lot of holes in the story. I'll put it that way, and we can dive a little bit more into it later.
That sounds good. Listen, all I know is I listened to what Sean Parnell was saying, and you all know me. I know sometimes it drives some of you up the wall that, for me, movies are shorthand for life, right? We learn these lessons in the movies. This is like something out of the plot of literally Good Morning Vietnam. Remember the Robin Williams movie, right? He makes friends with he wants to date this woman, but so he becomes friends with her little brother, and then her little brother turns out to be a North Vietnamese terrorist. Right, and that's and which is why he had to wind up having to leave Vietnam, because he was so close. It is very, very complicated in the end. What happens there? Listen, before we go, let me play this, because this is Judge Jeanine Pirro, because she gave a press conference yesterday. Also asked about who she blames. Let's go ahead, Michael, and play cut number 5.
Set with the president believing that the National Guard members should not even have been there if it were not for the executive order.
Well, I don't even want to talk about whether they should have been there. We ought to kiss the ground and thank God that the president said it's time to bring in more law enforcement to make sure that a city that had the 4th highest homicide rate in the country was that violence was quelled. I'm not even going to go there.
A question for Director Patel.
So there you go. That was very simple and straightforward.
Judge Jeanine, she's like right to the point.
Right.
And with you can't match her delivery either. By the way,
listen, and that's why I'm looking forward to having Tony Schaefer on in a little bit, and as well as KT McFarland, because neither of them mince words, or both of them don't mince words. I know that's a double negative there. So much more to get to. It's 5:52.
News Talk 105.9 WMAL, making sense of the news.
So much more to come on O'Connor and Company here on WMAL. Listen, later on in the show, we got Tony Schaefer, we got Steve Moore joining us, KT McFarland, and Chuck Fees. We're going to be talking Black Friday, me and Patrice, because, listen, more Black Friday. I'm sorry, Patrice. Of course, we're going to be doing that at the start of the Christmas season as well. But, again, then we're going to continue to peel back, and we're going to celebrate the life of this young National Guardswoman who perished. It is 6 a.m. on O'Connor and Company.